Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Amidst India's rising influence in the global ecosystem, racist-driven attacks on Indian origin people have seen a major increase. A brazen, unprovoked racist attack has surfaced now from Australia. An Indian origin man was brutally attacked with a machete by a group of teenagers while he was on his way home from a pharmacy in Australia's Melbourne. The man has been identified as 33-year-old Saurabh Anand. According to the report, Saurabh had picked up medicines from a pharmacy at the Central Square shopping centre in Altona Meadows around 7:30 p.m. on the 19th of July. He was on a call with his friend when suddenly 5 teenagers surrounded him. Initially, one of the attackers went through the victim's pockets while another punched him in the head till he fell to the ground. A third teenager pulled out a machete and reportedly held it to the Indian origin man's throat. As you can see in the visuals, the man was punched over 10 to 15 times within a time span of less than a minute. The attackers then started kicking the man in the face without showing any remorse. A woman tried to intervene and save the man, but even she was knocked out by one of the attackers. After the attack, the victim Saurabh Anand was left severely injured, including a nearly severed hand, which was later reattached. Saurabh, bloodied and in pain, managed to walk out of the area and call for help. He was rushed to a nearby hospital where doctors initially thought they would have to amputate his hand, but they were able to reattach his hand. This is not the first time a racist attack has been reported from Australia against India. Previously, a similar incident had taken place in Australia last week when an Indian man was allegedly brutally assaulted and racially abused by a group of unidentified men during a car parking dispute. The incident near Kintore Avenue took place when the man, Charanpreet Singh, was out to see the city's light displays with his wife in their car at around 9:22 p.m. We also want to put into context attacks against Indians abroad at large and how this is becoming a problem. Within the last week, we've seen 4 different attacks in different corners of the world. Similarity, all attacks were either with a racist intention or with an intention to hurt sentiments of Indian origin people. These increasing attacks on Indians leaves a big question unanswered. How will perpetrators be punished? We know that action has been taken against the attackers in Australia, but reports suggest that 3 out of the 4 of the attackers have been given bail. Joining us now live is Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist. We also have Pathikrit Pine, geopolitical expert, live with us. Major General Sudhakarji, geopolitical expert, is joining us live. Shruti Dasgupta, foreign affairs expert, is also with us on the broadcast. Welcome. Thank you all for being with us today on NewsX. Let me begin with you first, Shruti Dasgupta. What do you make of this incident that has been reported from Australia, and what would you attribute this to?
Greetings. Thank you so much for inviting me. What I understand is this does not stem from Hindu phobia. It actually stems from something much deeper called Hindu dvesh, which basically means hatred towards Hindu. This comes from a long time whitewashing of crimes against Hindus and brainwashing of the West towards the current Modi regime-led India as ultra-nationalist or even pro towards their own legacy. So the leftist system as well as the Marxist system as well as the Islamists have banded together via all their various NGOs, control the media narratives and feed into the minds of the Australians that Hindus are not to be tolerated, they are not a good breed to be around. And so we've seen over the years these escalating. We've seen of late in the past 10 days, we've seen 2 attacks. We've seen one hate-filled graffiti on Hindu temples. So it shows me that whatever the media was trying to portray as, the Australian media has been trying to portray Hindus as they've succeeded, and now even someone as young as 14 or 15 feels threatened by the mere presence of Hindus in their area.
Yes, let me also in fact quickly take that across to you, Major General Sudhakarji. Major General Sudhakarji, is this purely a racist incident? Surely this must be called as one, and we must not shy away from that as well. It will be unfair to call this just a criminal attack because it seems driven by hate, isn't it? Major General Sudhakarji, what is your assessment of what has happened?
Uday, good evening. Thank you for taking me to your show. Although I am debarred from commenting on any particular religion, being a military man, but having been invited to such a very important and sensitive show, I am allowing myself as a citizen of India and being a Hindu, I feel it's much more sinister than what is actually visible to the naked eye. There is a deeper design. the issue needs to be flagged as a long-term perspective challenge. The challenge is not of 1 day or 2 days. One has gone to a fair number of countries, interacted with people, with the Indian diaspora. We have a large percentage of diaspora in Australia, large number of students. If this is what it goes on, then I'm afraid our relationship with Australia is also going to be it is going to be subjected to lots of ifs and buts. And therefore, it brings me to the issue needs to be addressed at the highest level, at the intermediate, as also at the local level. Overall, if I look at it in a holistic manner, maybe there is some point is indicative of some actions to be done at the national level as well. Perhaps there is some kind of a opening which we are giving here in the country itself. Maybe that has to be dots have to be connected. And the larger issue is Australia is popping up time and again, and it's turning out to be very, very dangerous. If this be the kind of a thing, maybe we may have to plan mm, the repatriation of Indian students and the Indian diaspora there in Australia back to the country. It has to be addressed at the highest level, at the summit level, between two leaders of the country. It has to go down to the province level, the law and order machinery. And I also would like to look at the architecture which is available in the international law also needs to be looked into. It is not only Australia, it is happening in the UK, it is happening in US, it is happening in Canada as well. It seems that there is a, like earlier days we used to talk that the five eyes are at it jointly, but looks like there is a bigger design. So therefore we need to apply ourselves, find out the root cause, try and diagnose the disease properly and address it as a long-term threat so that it is not only mitigated, but it is rooted out right from the grassroots level. Back to you then.
Okay, let me in fact also take that across to you, Pathikrit Pine. This is not something new. We've seen it happen in Australia before. There was a pattern of these attacks there. Thankfully, that had stemmed. However, now another of this kind has been reported. How should this be taken up? What do you make of it, Pathikrit?
So, first and foremost, I believe in the larger context, Hindus are the new Jews of the world, and you would see we would be attacked wherever you are. Secondly, I think a part of the blame lies with us as well. I'll tell you the reason. The reason is this. For far too long, there is this perception created from schools onwards that the moment you go abroad, your life is going to be a rosy one. You will be great in your life, and all the problems that you have is only because you are staying back in India. The schools have an obsession to see how many of their kids, students actually become non-resident Indians. I'm myself saying it, even 15 to 20 years back, my experience in Western Europe was terribly bad. Western Europe, United States, and even countries like Australia have never been absolutely safe. It is an illusion that they create that they are extremely safer, much more safer countries by virtue of being Western first world countries. They are absolutely not. And secondly, the kind of illegal immigration that has been propounded, facilitated over there, they have a disdain towards the Indians, primarily the Hindus. But again, I'm not saying not just the Hindus, but primarily the Hindus, because generally we are law-abiding, we focus on the job, and we generally get the jobs. So because you're getting the jobs, because your country is growing, because you have become as a country defiant, because you're setting your own rules, what you see on the streets is a combination of spontaneous attacks as well as something on a larger scale which is orchestrated. So what do they do? They keep on, as Shruti also rightly mentioned, indoctrinating a kind of a narrative that all the ills in India are primarily because of Hindus, and that this government in India is almost like the next Nazi government. That kind of narrative have been built, and unfortunately, while we have done a lot of good work, we have not countered that kind of negative propaganda vehemently. Unfortunately, somewhere we thought that, okay, our relationship with the governments over there, if it is good, then everything is fine. But narrative building slowly is like a slow poison. And today you are facing the wrath of it, and it is not going to go down. Because if you see, the economic condition in Western Europe is only going to go worse. Look, I saw the video of those attacks. it appears most of those attackers are of African origin. Now, what is happening is that the attackers are also immigrants, and they're attacking somebody who is also an immigrant. But there's a huge difference between their economic standards, because the Indians are extremely dedicated in the work they do. The others may not be. And those who do not get the opportunities for their own fault, not because of the fault of the Indians, they need a scapegoat. And this is how wokeism, this is how the left liberal lunatic actually create the construct, and telling these illegal immigrants that for all your follies, these are the other ones who are responsible. If you see in America, Trump administration have been trying to project a narrative that all the problems that America has with their own unemployment is because of Indians. So let's also be realistic. I would always say there's nothing wrong in going abroad. Take precautions, but please always remember you are far safer in India than abroad. The presumption that it is going to get mitigated, I think there's a problem, because it is going to get worse in Western Europe. It is going to get even worse in United States, and Australia is no exception. And countries like Australia will try to whitewash it. They will be whitewashing. They will say, oh, it's a small incident. It's a wrong element, somebody doing it on its own. It has nothing. There's no larger design behind it. There is a larger design. General Sir mentioned about the Five Eyes. Do you think the Five Eyes are happy because they have been put to their place by India? No, they're not. So how do they pay back? They can't attack India. They can't counter India. They know sanctions will not work. So target Indians individually. That is exactly what happened with the Israelis, because they can't do anything to Israel. So the Jews have always been targeted wherever they are outside Israel. That's cowardice, but that's the reality. So what happens? The Israel takes it on its own that wherever a Jew is attacked anywhere in the world, the onus is on Israel to retaliate. Well, I'm sure a day will come that India would also have a policy like that. But from school onwards, it is important to tell people, kids, come out of that illusion that abroad you are better, you are safer, you are greater. It is not. The reality, what you showed today, it is a reality. But it's not the reality of today alone. It is the reality of the last 20 years. It's only that it is getting exposed now. And I think it's important when you go abroad, the non-resident communities, they need to be far more united. The problem is we are not united as a community, as a vote bank. We do not put our feet down to say that if it happens, there will be retaliation. If it happens, we will take it in the global stage. That kind of community bondage, if it is not created, I don't think things will be better. Most importantly, non-resident Indians must realize, I think in spite of all the problems, India is still far safer. Back to you.
All right, let me quickly, in fact, take that to you, Gautam Mukherjee, as well. Gautam, this is very, very sad incident, and it's a very serious incident. Thankfully, the arm, because of the hospital's proactiveness, has been saved, reportedly, of this individual. But really, this video has sent chills down everyone's spines who's seen it. What was your first reaction to it? And what now must be the fallout of it, Gautam? Because surely this incident cannot be ignored.
Well, I'm sure the Australian authorities won't ignore it. They will, if they've given bail to three of them, it's basically because one of them would have done the fisting, the other two have done the general, attack without anything specific. The chap with the machete must be the one who's still in custody. Now, if you look at, I quite agree that Hindus are the new Jews because they are diligent, they are prosperous. Even as students, they tend to be law-abiding and mind their own business. They have enough money to live on. They do not need to attack each other or anyone else to do this kind of smash and grab that these African origin students or yobos or whatever you want to call them, drug addicts, anything along those lines. Now, you get more and more and more of this in the West. I'd say it goes back much more than 20 years. This is how the Jews were targeted between the First and Second World Wars, when the economy fell apart and they needed to demonize these people because they were a minority and they were doing well. Hindus fit the bill now. In America, they have a lot of top jobs. Almost everybody as a community does better than other immigrant communities. This is not being lost on anybody. And they are not militant, and they don't have gangs, and they don't know how to use guns, and they don't go in for self-protection or learning some kind of martial art or any kind of thing. They're sitting ducks. So that is one aspect of it. The other business of being anti-Hindu in terms of attacks on temples, this has a variety of people. One is, in the media, I would fancy in these white countries, largely Christian, that though Australia, since the 50s, after it dropped its white Australia policy, is pretty cosmopolitan. There are lots of Vietnamese, Italians. Italians are white, of course, but they're not as white as an Anglo-Saxon. So earlier they used to be targeted as Dagos and so on. Now they have integrated to a large extent. So you've got every immigrant community is a target, particularly when there is an economic downturn. And the economic downturn is more or less responsible for this. As far as anti-Hinduism goes, the evangelists, I mean, we did burn we burnt a family of Australian priests, their children, and the man all together many years ago, but it was done in India. So one is that they have, even today, got an evangelical effort going on in India, and their main opponents are Hindu right-wing groups who don't like it, particularly in tribal areas and the like. So one is that the evangelicals don't like Hindus. Then you've got the Khalistanis, the Islamists. There's no shortage of people who don't like the Hindus outside of India, and quite a few who are in India. So, to summarize, I would say Indians are sitting ducks because they do not organize themselves. They do not know how to defend themselves. They do not expect this kind of thing, and they expect the authorities to look after everything, which tends to happen after the fact. How many people have been shot in bars, at petrol pumps and the like? It's continuous. There is no retaliation. There is no self-protection groups. And so it's part and parcel of what happens if you wish to go and make a living or earn an education or whatever it is that you're trying to do in Western countries.
Okay, let me take that back across to you, Shruti, on how India can further raise this. Are we raising it enough? What can be further done to raise this with Australian authorities and countries where there is a pattern of this, where there are recurring instances, where they cannot be dismissed as just a one-off crime?
Well, it's very difficult to say that we are doing enough, because if we had been doing enough, the Indian community, the Hindu community would not be facing such attacks repeatedly, whether be it Australia, Canada or USA for that, or even France for that. So we are not doing enough. I think we need to make sure that our ambassadors, our high commissions in these nations go ahead and make a very strong point that people of our origin, our descent, and of Hindu religion need to be protected by the host nation. There need to be policies, very much like the anti-Semitism policies, that kind of dictate social behavior towards Hindu community whichever nation they are in. Otherwise, as Pathikrit ji and the others have pointed out, we are Indians and Hindus in particular are the high income earning groups. They are the high skill, they hold the high skill labor jobs, high income groups, and yet the Western media, like up till 2022, held conferences like dismantling global Hindutva, which directly targets Hindu identity as such. This kind of poison that is allowed to be propagated through various NGOs and media narratives is not being countered because Hindus are not protected under anti-Semitism laws that similar to anti-Semitism laws. So India as a nation needs to put its foot down and push for a law like this in all nations where Hindus and Indians and Indian origin people work and exist in harmony.
Yes. Let me quickly leave a last word to you, Major General Sudhakarji, before we take a short break. Your final word on the way ahead.
Thank you. My final word is Indian economy is going to be targeted time and again through these kinds of means and methods, not only in Australia, all over the world. Because Thucydide trap, we have flagged it time and again. I think you've been the anchor through your channel. Any established power in the world will not allow a rising power to come anywhere close to its footing. This is of Professor Allison. It's been adequately propounded in a number of universities, and it went viral sometime in 2015. That is what is actually coming into light, and therefore India will do well by firstly, I agree with what Shruti and Patikrit and Gautam have said. There is a need to firstly sensitize our own people. Patikrit made a very strong point. Our education system has to look at these realities. These no longer can be shied away. I am a military man. I am not supposed to talk or discuss or participate anything which is religious nature, but this is the reality. The country, it's a threat before the country. If I, as a citizen, I don't open my mouth, who else is going to do? Are you going to allow such kind of things to happen? My children are also abroad. Similar thing can happen to them. So first and foremost thing is that the people who are as part of Indian diaspora need to be educated that such an attack or assault may take place. Therefore, be prepared. They have to look out for these kind of small little signature here and there, and be armed or have adequate means and methods to defend themselves. Secondly, there is a requirement of the law in the country. Does it mean that Australia is allowing them knowingly? Does it mean that there is a double standard in Australia itself? Despite the best of relationship that India and Australia have, we are part of the Quad. Quad has no meaning and no interpretation of these kind of things. How long are you going to allow such nonsense to take place in 21st century? It's about time India puts its foot down, takes up the issue very seriously, and very stringent measures have to be taken in a meaningful and substantive manner.
All right, point taken. We've run out of time. Let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a short break.